I guess every monster has some sort of mythology that's tied into him or her. And I guess with Jason, you know, I sort of looked at him as a monster more than, you know, just a man that was, you know, killing and unstoppable. So my approach was actually going towards the mythology of Frankenstein, which of course was, you know, putting together dead body parts and creating a monster and electrifying it with lightning. And it's not a zombie, at least in my, you know, mind, it's not a zombie. It's really an animated dead body. There is nothing that you can really do to, you know, stop something that's already dead, to the point where the sheriff literally shoots him in the head, which is the normal sort of way to stop a zombie, and it kicked his head back, but he continued. So I tried to make it begin to have it's sort of his own new mythology in that regard. The whole subject of mortality and horror, for me, it's always been pretty much the same thing, because you are challenged to survive, you know, in some way. You know, getting away from, you know, the killer, the monster, the unknown force that's coming at you. And at the same time, obviously, the fear of death motivates all of us. Nobody wants to die. I truly believe there is an energy force that's gone when the body, you know, dies. So in terms of the movies I've done, you know, One Dark Night definitely dealt with that whole idea of mortality and the Raymar character being able to be an entity that kept going after the death of his body. Jason obviously comes back with a lightning bolt, you know, again, you know, breaking past that barrier of death. Alice Cooper was probably one of the most brilliant suggestions that came up in post-production on the movie, and that was from Frank Mancuso Jr. He said, you know, what do you think of having Alice actually write a song? And I said, that's so weird, because actually we had put a couple of Alice's songs in the temp track. Back in the mid-'60s, Alice and I actually played on the same bills together at a number of the clubs here in Los Angeles. His group was called the Naz, and I knew him as Vincent. You know, he was this cool guy that hung out at Frank Zappa's house. So it was quite ironic that years later, you know, we actually got to, you know, team up on this thing. Having Alice and the kind of shows that he puts on couldn't be more perfect, obviously, for Friday the 13th. Hard Rock Summer that we have in the car chase scene is to me a perfect, you know, feeling for that piece and that edginess. And of course, you know, Teenage Frankenstein. I mean, please, I mean, it couldn't be more perfect. And of course, you know, Man Behind the Mask that he wrote specifically, you know, for the movie. Alice to me represents everything that is, you know, rock and roll and horror. You know, he's combined it in a way that like no one else has. When I finished my Friday the 13th, Frank came to me and he said, what do you think about doing part 7? And I said, you know, Frank, I would love it, but I'm out of ideas. I mean, I tried to put everything I knew, you know, in that. So I said, I don't know, do you have any thoughts? And he goes, what about Jason meets Freddy? I went, well, sure, but how are we going to get them? You know, I mean, how's New Line going to agree? And he goes, we're working on it. So he came back a few weeks later and said, no, you know, New Line's just not going for it. So I, you know, kind of let the Jason thing go. But over the years, I had so many people saying, you know, are you going to do another one? Finally, the ideas kind of came together. I wanted to basically create another kind of mythology in that this is a Jason story that actually took place in 1999, right on the cusp of going into 2000. Then I thought, we've never seen Jason in the winter. So I had to come up with a scenario that it wasn't going to be a summer camp, but it was going to be a, let me just say, like a retreat that went on during the winter, and a group of girls, and they, in fact, the entire cast is all female, and the only male will be Jason. And they are oblivious to Jason and the mythology about Jason. And I wanted to come up with, you know, kills and things that would be kind of unique to the series, give Jason a lot of new, you know, tools to work with. We're still basically, you know, by Crystal Lake, except this time Crystal Lake is frozen over. So yeah, Jason Never Dies is the title, and that was one of the things that I felt like has kind of been the thing that has proven more true than anything else, that after all these years, we never thought, you know, that he would be going on this long and there would be still such a power to him as a horror, you know, legend. Well, here I am, literally 10 years later, almost to the day, when I first bought this crypt. I created this particular plaque which says, you know, "To die will be an awfully big adventure, Peter Pan." And I've always loved that quote by J.M. Barrie. And also a set of instructions for what I would like to have happen after I'm gone. Close your eyes, open your heart, I'm here. I guess I do have a kind of a obsession with Friday the 13th, because I made sure that before we wrapped, you know, I got Jason's coffin, you know, which is in my basement, and in my backyard is Jason's tombstone. So, you know, both of these things are the real thing, a real coffin, and it wasn't like a styrofoam tombstone. It's actually a granite, you know, tombstone, very heavy. But, you know, it's been with me all these years, and one of the things that I still, you know, treasure from the movie.